Has your teacher ever let you get away with cheating? I was sitting in class literally sweating because I knew I didn't have our final term paper finished. I had to ask our teacher for an extension because my life literally depended on it. I wouldn't graduate 9th grade if she said no, so when she walked in, I took a deep breath. I walked up to her desk, but as soon as I tried to get her attention and ask for an extra day, she burst out at me. She yelled, "Leave me alone, you little punk! I don't care! You already failed!" The whole room went dead silent. I had never heard Miss Pruitt raise her voice in my entire 2 years of having her. I stood there, stunned, but when she looked up at me, I realized she had tears in her eyes. They were bloodshot like she'd been crying all morning, and I knew something was seriously wrong. I said, "Whoa, Miss Pruitt, are you okay?" She didn't answer. She just looked back down at the floor, her shoulders slumping like all the air had gone out of her. I didn't know what to do. I was gonna fail this class now, and probably have to get held back a year. Then another teacher knocked on the door, and before he saw how upset Miss Pruitt was, he said, "Happy anniversary." She instantly started crying harder, and the class just watched as all this happened. I knew I had to ask her again, so at lunchtime I went back. But before I walked inside, I heard a few people talking in there. I stood and listened for a second and heard her breaking down. Her husband had completely forgotten their anniversary. Not just forgot to make reservations or forgot to buy a gift. He forgot about it completely. She was devastated because he was the love of her life, and she was convinced he was thinking about leaving her. I felt terrible because I forgot stuff all the time too. Now I had a new problem. My teacher was going through the worst day of her life, and I needed her to do me a favor. There was no way I could ask her for an extension now, but if I didn't get that extension, I was going to fail her class. I was desperate, so I came up with a plan. I waited until the hallway was clear, then I walked past the main office when the receptionist wasn't at her desk. I snuck behind to where the phone book was before anyone saw me and flipped to Ms. Pruitt's home phone number. I had to tell her husband, but when I called it on the flip phone my mom gave me for emergencies, I felt nervous again. Someone answered, but instead of hearing Mr. Pruitt, a tiny voice answered, "Hello?" Oh no, it wasn't the husband. It had to be her 5-year-old daughter she always talks about. Hi, is your dad home? It's really urgent." "No," she said. "Daddy went to work." I stood there panicking. I had to think fast. I said, "Okay, listen, can you do me a really big favor? When your daddy gets home, I need you to tell him something really important. Can you do that?" "Okay," she said. "Tell him that today is his anniversary, and he needs to buy your mommy flowers. Really pretty ones. Can you remember that?" "Daddy needs to buy mommy flowers," she repeated. "Yes, exactly. But here's the thing. It has to be a secret, okay? Don't tell your mommy you talked to me. Just tell your daddy about the flowers. Can you keep a secret?" "I can keep secrets," she said proudly before hanging up. I closed my eyes and said a prayer, because if this didn't work, I was absolutely cooked. I sat down in class the next day waiting for her to come in, and when she did, I instantly looked at her left hand. I saw she was still wearing her wedding ring, so I knew it couldn't have been that bad. But then I noticed her face. She had a huge smile and looked 1,000 times better than she did yesterday. The first thing she did was hand back the tests, but when she got to my desk, she had nothing. She said, "Can you stay after class?" And I knew she was probably gonna tell me I got held back. I waited until everyone else had left the classroom. Then I walked up to her desk. "Miss Pruitt?" She just opened her drawer and pulled out a paper, and I quickly realized it was my exam. She put it down on the desk, covering half, and I saw the giant F written on it, but she was still smiling. Why was she so happy ruining my life? But when she moved her hand, I saw that she actually marked it as an A. "Wait, I failed, but you gave me an A?" She smiled again and said, "My daughter ratted you out."